Hello, listeners, and welcome to episode 178 of the Nigeria Football Weekly podcast. Me, host Olu Oke, and today is obviously the big one. We're finally here in the final of the CAF Confederation Playoff to know who the representative from CAF to the World Cup Intercontinental Playoffs in March will finally be decided this coming Sunday, November 16th, as at 10 p.m. Nigerian time or 9 p.m. UK time. Assuming it does not go to extra time or penalties, we will know whether our darling Super Eagles have booked the CAF tickets to represent Africa, or God forbid, would it be DR Congo? So today is going to be the preview of the big match, which I'm sure you're all looking forward to. And I'm sure everyone's still basking in the joy of the game yesterday. But now it's do or die. We've done phase one. We beat Gabon 4-1, tick them off. Now it's time for us to tick off DR Congo. So anyway, the only option is to win this match. And I promise you, I'm going to try and make this succinct. I know I like to do these long episodes, but I want to keep this one a bit more concise for your listening pleasure. So anyway, without any further ado, let us get into it. So, game will be played at the Moulay Hassan Stadium in Morocco, as you all know, in Rabat on Sunday, November 16th, 8 p.m. Nigeria time. Remember, is the kickoff time. And this is the CAF Playoff Final. The winner of this game will go on to be the CAF representative in the March in the Intercontinental Playoffs. We already know two of the teams that will be in that Intercontinental Playoff. Bolivia, for finishing 7th in the CONMEBOL World Cup qualifying round robin league. New Caledonia for finishing as runners up to New Zealand in the Oceania Federation World Cup qualifiers, with New Zealand actually qualifying directly for the first time. It's the first time an Oceania team has had direct access qualify for the World Cup because of how weak the region is. So New Caledonia have been given this second opportunity, but let's be honest, it's very likely whoever gets to play New Caledonia in the playoff is going to flog the shege out of them. Now we're going to have one more team join us from Asia, AFC region, Iraq or the United Arab Emirates. They played their first leg yesterday as well, and it ended 1-1. And I think the second leg will now be played in Iraq. So one of those teams will be part of the playoffs, and we would also have two teams from CONCACAF as in the Intercontinental Playoffs. Basically, they're in round 3 of CONCACAF Playoffs. 3 groups. Whoever tops each group goes directly to the World Cup. So 3 teams are going to qualify. Now, out of the 3 second-place teams, the best 2 of them will qualify for the Intercontinental Playoff. At the moment, it was either going to be Panama or Jamaica, because Haiti have 8 points, but we'll see. It could still end up being Honduras, Haiti, Jamaica, Curacao, Suriname, or Panama. But all of this will be decided by this Thursday. So basically, in fact, this Tuesday, sorry. So Nigeria, we have our own game to face on Sunday. The CONCACAF teams will play each other on Tuesday, so we'll know who the representatives from CONCACAF will be. Also, the Iraq UAE second leg will be taking place on Tuesday, so we'll know who the AFC representative is. And just for everyone's listening pleasure, the draw for the Intercontinental Playoffs will be done next week, Thursday, November 20th. So by God's grace, Nigeria will be there. And of course, when you look at all these teams that I'm mentioning, you have to say that Nigeria is their daddy. So by God's grace, if we can beat DR Congo, I truly believe that we'll pretty much have one foot into the World Cup. Also, because of our ranking, the way it works is out of these 6 teams that qualify for the playoffs, they will go into 2 different paths. One, the 4 bottom ranked sides will first play each other, almost like a semi-final. So they will play each other. The 2 top ranked sides, which Nigeria will be one of the 2, will wait for everybody to play. Then once they now decide the draws for those. Whoever wins those semi-finals will now come and play in Nigeria or I think it might be Jamaica, maybe. I'm not sure based on the world rankings. But all I know is Nigeria is the highest ranked team of all of them, potentially. So let's just do our job on Sunday and we're good to go, guys. So anyway, that's it. The focus is on DR Congo. They will definitely be a tougher opponent than Gabon, that's for sure, because they work very well as a team. And defensively, they're quite good and coordinated. Yes, we were praising Gabon for what they did in World Cup qualifiers with winning 8 of their 10 games. But you have to say DR Congo have a bit more pedigree. DR Congo is a team that finished 4th in the last AFCON. We finished 2nd. South Africa were 3rd. Congo finished 4th. We know what happened in our our group when we played South Africa, even though we did not lose to them, they qualified to the World Cup ahead of us. So we cannot underrate a team that finished fourth in AFCON. Yes, traditionally, they don't really get to the AFCON semi-finals. So you have to say that last year was probably one of their best AFCON results in a long, long time. This is a country that have not qualified for the World Cup since they were called Republic of Zaire in 1974. That's the one and only time they've ever made a World Cup. So let's be honest, when it comes to like pedigree and footballing prowess, they are not Nigeria's mates, let's be honest. But we have to be wary of them and we cannot underrate them. You know, I would call them a tier 2 African side. We are tier 1 for sure. Whether you like to know, we're one of the big boys on the continent, you know. I'll say there's 9 tier 1 teams. 4 from North Africa. Morocco, Egypt, Algeria, Tunisia. And then you have Nigeria, Ghana, Cameroon, Ivory Coast, Senegal. Those are the 9. I'll say that. You know that if they go into an AFCON, they have a chance of winning the AFCON at all times. Then Tier B, you now add your South Africas, your Malis, your Congos, your Gabons. South Africa might shalaye to say they deserve to be in Tier 1, but we need to see more workings from them in terms of AFCONs and pedigree of winning things. So even though that may sound harsh. But the main thing is Nigeria, make sure we win the match. As I mentioned before in the watch along and in the review episode, we all know that Nigeria has history in America. This is where we played our first ever World Cup tournament in 1994. The greatest achievement in Nigerian football history of winning the Olympic gold medal in football in 1996 happened where? America, in Atlanta. So we need to make sure we're back there. We cannot do the remontada against Benin, smash Gabon 4-1 only for our efforts to be wasted. We don't want that, man. It's time to sign, seal, and deliver. And we believe in the boys and we're going to get it done. You know, one thing to give Congo credit, when they were Zaire, they were the first sub-Saharan African teams qualified for a World Cup. But obviously they're looking to end their 51/52 year wait. That's how long it's been. So you know that in terms of pressure, we're used to the pressure, but they're literally playing for an entire generation of Congolese people. You know, so we have to be careful about that. Also, a lot at stake in this game. You know, one thing to know in terms of the history of Nigeria versus DR Congo, despite us being 2 of the 4 most populous nations in Africa, well, obviously Nigeria were number 1 with 237 million people. DR Congo are number 4 with 112 million people. Then you have Egypt and Ethiopia in between us. Those 4 countries alone, I think, is almost 60-70% of African continent population. So you're talking about 2 giants in terms of just numbers, you know, and they really represent different aspects of African culture, Francophone, Anglophone, you know, all of that. I'm very prideful people in what they bring to the table in terms of their culture. I'm very proud of their roots as well. So that's quite an interesting one. But this is our first competitive game against DR Congo in a long, long time. In fact, we've never played a competitive match against DR Congo, which is quite interesting. Whether it's qualifiers, we've just never been in the group with them, which is quite interesting. We've played them a total of 6 times. They were all international friendlies, and this is one of the few teams in Africa that has a better head-to-head record over Nigeria, which is quite interesting to see. I mean, to be fair, they've won 3 times, we've won 2, and we drew 1. But when you look at when these games were played, 3 of them were played in 1966 when Congo was still called Congo Kinshasa, and we lost 2 of those games in 1966. This is when TV was still black and white. We won 1-3-2 in 1966. In more recent times, we beat them in 2010 in an international friendly by 5-2. And then in October 2015, Congo actually beat us in a friendly match by 2-0. And the last time we played them was the year just before we went to the World Cup, 28th of May 2018. We drew against Congo 1-1. That's when they released our fine jersey that broke all the records everywhere. So in terms of history, there's not a lot between these 2 sides, as you know. So obviously really excited to see what this competitive game is going to look like, and look at the stakes. You know, Nigeria, we're trying to make our 7th World Cup in our history since we made our debut in 1994. Of course, we missed out in 2022, but we've never gone an 8-year period without more than 8 years without making a World Cup. So we cannot let it start now. So we have to deliver on Sunday. What's the tail of the tape, guys? Nigeria, FIFA ranking 41st in the world. DR Congo's ranking 60th in the world. CAF ranking, Nigeria 5th. DR Congo 11th on the continent. Head coach Eric Sekoshel, who we love now, and the coach for Congo is Sebastien Desabre. Now, Sebastien Desabre has been the head coach since August 2022, so that's at least 3 years, and he was the one who guided them to their fourth place finish in the last AFCON when they lost South Africa on penalties. So they could have even come third, but they lost on pens, So anyway, the whole point of this is just made that we cannot underrate our opponents. This is a do or die affair. When you look at Congo's journey to the World Cup Playoff Final, they finished second in their group with 22 points, 7 wins, 1 draw, and 2 losses. Senegal peeped them by 2 points with 24 points. But their previous World Cup qualifier results, they started with a 2-0 win at home to Mauritania, then they lost 1-0 away to Sudan. Then they drew 1-1 away against Senegal, which was a very impressive result in June last year. And then they beat Togo 1-0 at home. Then they beat South Sudan 1-0 at home in March. And then 2-0 away against Mauritania. A 4-1 win against South Sudan in September. But the big one that made them miss out on the World Cup is they lost 3-2 to Senegal at home in September 2025. Even though they were 2-0 up, they conceded 3 goals. So that was where it all unraveled. After that match, they've won 3 consecutive games by 1-0. So they beat Togo 1-0 and they beat Sudan 1-0. And of course, yesterday, they dispatched Cameroon by 1-0 by scoring a goal in the last minute of the game, courtesy of their captain, Chancellor Mbemba. I mean, when you look at their last match, I have to be honest, I watched the highlights and I watched most of the match on TV when I could. It was a very cagey game. But I must say there were at least 3 or 4 opportunities for Cameroon to score goals. Mbeumo himself had 2 chances where he had a run at goal and could have taken better shots. One was pretty much a one-on-one. Yes, the defender did a bit to shift him off his stride. And then there was another chance where he did a double 1-2 with Magri, but he took a shot straight at the Congolese goalkeeper. Also Eta Eyong, the up-and-coming striker for Levante, he had 1 or 2 chances with his head and his leg from set pieces that just went wide slightly. But it must be said that what I'm trying to say is we will get chances for sure. The game was very cagey. When you look at Nigeria's match yesterday, we had 5 clear-cut chances in the first half. We had 17 shots in the whole match. We had 12 shots on target. We're very unlucky not to go into halftime leading. But the Cameroon-Congo game was a lot more cagey. So yeah, like I said, when you look at the stats of the match, Congo in the entire match had 5 shots. 2 on target, 3 off target, and Cameroon had 6 shots in the whole game. 2 on target as well, 4 off target. Yes, they had 56% possession, but it was a very cagey game. I've seen some people trying to insinuate that Congo dominated the match, but that was not what I saw. And if you even watch the highlights, you have to say that the Cameroonians had the better chances. Yes, there was a chance by Bakambu where he should have scored, and Onana made a great save. We still cannot take them for granted is the whole point. Now, what are their strengths? They're very strong defensively. They have a strong defensive core and elite 1v1 defending, as evidenced by Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Anyone that watches Premier League knows this. They've kept 6 clean sheets in their last 8 games, but to be fair, the opponents in those 6 games were Togo twice, South Sudan, Mauritania, Sudan, and this is their last match against Cameroon. So the only team you can compare to Nigeria from there is Cameroon, and they're going through a crisis. All the other teams they played are minnows and teams that you cannot compare to Super Eagles, to be honest. But one thing to also mention is out of these their last 8 games, the one time they played the tier 1 nation apart from Cameroon, which was Senegal, they conceded 3 goals. And they were winning 2-0 at home, and Senegal came back to score 3. Now, out of these, there are 6 clean sheets also. 5 of those games were 1-0 wins. So they're not the biggest scorers. That's just to tell you how cagey their matches tend to be. And they tend to shut up shop, get 1 goal here, very 0-0, 1-0 here or there. And I just wanted to call out the whole kind of opponents they've played so we know what is here. So they have a better defense than Gabon. That one is for sure. We have to be careful. They also have a physically powerful midfield. I'll go to the lineup. But Peko, Sadiki, who plays for Sunderland, that's doing very well right now. Edo Kayembe, I think, is at Watford. Mutusami are all strong ball winners. So we have to be careful. They're pretty good in transition and they're a fast team as well. Even with that winger, Theo Bongonda. So we have to be careful, and they're a threat from set pieces, as evidenced by the goal they scored yesterday by Mbemba, which was literally the last kick of the game from a corner, and from nothing they went 1-0 up. Now their main weaknesses, we have to admit, they don't have that many attacking minded players of top quality. Their options are not that great. When you think about it, they don't create many chances per game. They're definitely not the best scorers, as evidenced by the amount of 1-0 games they've played. They've only scored more than 1 goal 4 times in their last 11 games. So they struggle massively to score against teams that have a strong defensive setup. And we have been better defensively in recent times, with only errors leading to goals and being considered against us. Yes, there was a deflection, so you have to charge down to the game. So basically, you can say that if Nigeria scores 2 goals in this match, we'll win the match. That's the best way to just say it. And like I said, the one time they played the attack on Nigeria's level, Senegal, they considered 3 goals. When you compare a lot of these teams they've been playing, let's be honest, no offense to them. I'm even trying to be humble, but Nigeria, we packed that team, man. We have one of the best attacks in Africa for sure. So they've not been facing Victor Osimhen every day, or a Lukman, or a Chukwueze, or even a Ejuke, or a Simon, for example, or an Iwobi. So this is going to be the hardest test they'll ever have in their qualifying. Except that Senegal match, and they lost at home 3-2. So anyway, we move. And let's be honest, they still lack a true superstar that can just carry the team on their hands. They lack their own Mane or Salah or Mahrez of the past. Or their own Osimhen, for example. That player that could just grab the bull by the horns and just say, you know what, this thing is over. I'm deciding the game now and now. So that's the one thing about Congo. But anyway, overall thoughts, like I said, they're a tier 2 nation. Nigeria, we should be beating them, but we cannot take them for granted. Defensively, they're solid. And there's a world where if they score first, we may be in trouble, but we should win. Now, who are their key players to watch out for? Chancellor Mbamba, of course, Mbemba, their captain and the one that scored the goal in Cameroon. He plays for Lille. He used to play for Marseille. We all remember him from when he played for Porto in the Champions League. He also played for Newcastle. Very strong in defense and clearly a threat from set pieces. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I don't need to talk too much about him. You remember him from Man United and now at West Ham. Great tackler, great interceptor, very, very good defensively. We know he's not the best in terms of attacking wise, but his defending is amazing. Cedric Bakambu, 34-year-old marksman for the Congolese side, one of their biggest threats, and he's been there for a long time. Yes, he didn't have the best games yesterday, and I saw a lot of the people from Congo saying they want Fiston Mayele, who plays for Pyramids FC, who won the CAF Champions League last season, to start in his place on Sunday. But Bakambu is still one of their best goal scorers. I'm not even sure if he's their top goal scorer of all time. He's still the one that scored the only goal against Togo. He got a goal and assist against Senegal, and 2 goals and 1 assist against South Sudan. Our defenders need to make sure we keep him quiet and we cannot take him for granted. I still think he will start over the Fiston Mayele guy. Also, Theo Bongonda, he's a winger and playmaker, and most recently scored the winner for them in their 1-0 win in their final group game against Sudan in the 84th minute, by the way, which made them qualify as one of the best second-place teams. I'm not sure. I think he's played for Spartak Moscow, but correct me if I'm wrong. But he's one to watch out for. He wears number 10 shirt, quite silky. Can be a bit like Ejuke, to be fair. May not score that often, but he's always a threat. So we have to watch out for that. Noah Sadiki, who I mentioned, who moved to Sunderland this summer and has been starting games most recently for Congo and been a stalwart of the Sunderland team in the Premier League so far, who are currently 4th in the division. He'll be very keen in midfield battle for Sunday because of his ball-winning discipline and also his tackling ability. Obviously, we know Axel Tuanzebe used to be at Man United, now at Burnley. He also starts for them. Also, they've got a midfielder called Charles Pico, who plays for Espanyol. And then Otto Masuaku, who did not play the last game. I think he was suspended. But we all know Masuaku from his West Ham time. So just even looking at their team on paper, this is a stronger team than Gabon for sure. So we cannot disrespect them, When you look at their lineup against Cameroon from yesterday, they started with their number 1 goalkeeper, Mpasi. And then Chancellor Mbemba and Tuanzebe were the centre-back pairing. Aaron Wan-Bissaka as right back with Joris Kayembe as left back. Noah Sadiki, Samuel Mutusami, and Charles Pico were their midfield 3. All of them doing a lot of ball-winning, tackling work and trying to progress the ball. And then they started Theo Bongonda and Nathaniel Mbuku as their wingers, with Cedric Bakambu starting as a striker. Players that came on in that match, Edu Kayembe from Watford came on. Fiston Mayele also replaced Bakambu, the Pyramids FC player. And Gal Mukau, who plays for Lille, pretty highly rated as well, came off the bench. Also, they were able to convince a player called Stroikens, who plays for Anderlecht, to move to play for DR Congo rather than Belgium. I know he's quite highly rated, and I think he got his clearance 2 hours before the Cameroon game, which is why he did not play yesterday. But it's likely he will play against Nigeria. But would they throw in someone in deep end like that against Super Eagles? We shall wait and see. But anyway, that is what I just wanted to mention from the Congo squad. Look, at the end of the day, my summary of Congo is they're a good team that must not be disrespected or taken for granted. But if Nigeria play our best and Congo play their best, Nigeria will win the match. That one is just clear. Do not be deceived by social media Twitter fingers. The Congolese are quite confident, but you cannot blame them. This is the best they've ever gotten to, you know. But of course, when you come and play Victor Osimhen, it's a very, very different ball game and a very, very challenging occasion. And look, Osimhen is never going to have as bad in 90 minutes as he had yesterday, where he missed at least 5 clear-cut chances that you could count, you know. So we look forward to the game. Now, to talk about the giant of Africa. Nigeria learnings from yesterday. I mean, what can I say? I hope you've seen the watch along. I hope you've seen the review episode. Also, if you're watching this and you made it this far, please like, share, and subscribe. We're almost close to 8,000 subscribers. I want to thank you guys all for all you do for me. I do not take it for granted, and it helps us keep the channel running and to also have the time and the freedom to create. So God bless you so much for that. Now, Super Eagles yesterday, after our bowling, I realized that we already knew this, but we're a very, very good footballing side, and the chemistry is building. You can see the way we were playing. The amount of times we were able to progress the ball very well on that pitch. You see when you play on good pitch. NFF, as our men, look at the pitch in Morocco, go and make our own like that. All of a sudden, we play on a good pitch, and the players can progress the ball excellently. Yes, at certain points we would hit the ball long for Osimhen and Ako Adams because we were able to win all our aerial duels for pretty much most of the match. And the amount of times Osimhen will even be able to bring the ball down, or Ako Adams will be able to chase the ball or nod the ball to another Nigerian player, I couldn't count. It was so often, especially in the first half. Like, we balled these guys silly, man, like, if we're being honest. And then when you now look at ball progression of what we're able to do whenever the ball came back to even from defense, the amount of times I saw Bassi get the ball and he's able to pass the ball back to what's my guy's name? He'll pass the ball to Iwobi or Ndidi to progress the ball. Iwobi was very good at finding either a Lookman or Chukwueze. You can tell Eric Shell made us play more of a 4-2-2-2 formation because Lookman and Chukwueze were not really playing as wingers. They were coming inside and being the link between the attack and the midfield. And I thought we had a lot of opportunities which were created by this because Lookman and Chukwueze were able to get on the ball a lot of times and were able to drive forward and lay passes off to Osimhen here or there. Even Lookman, that people were trying to criticize the way he played, Lookman created at least 3 chances in that game. One, the first guilted chance Osimhen missed, that Lookman laid it off for him. Literally, on a platter, Osimhen scuffed his shot. Even one of those headers that we thought entered the net, it was Lookman who drove to the left wing and used his left foot to cross the ball to Victor Osimhen. So guys, let's remember these things. Football is not just about moments. Watch the whole game. Yes, at certain moments, Lookman made some wrong decisions. Maybe when he should have caught the ball, he tried to shoot. When he should have shot, he tried to cut the ball. But ultimately, he was making things happen. And he was growing in confidence. Honestly, I think Lookman and Chukwueze played much, much better than people give them credit for. So that's one thing that I really, really enjoyed watching yesterday. Now, one thing we have to learn from yesterday is to take our chances. In the first 30 minutes of the game, we were dominant. We had at least 5 of these clear-cut chances. Ako Adams also had one where he should have squared the ball to Osimhen, but he did not. Osimhen had a header saved by the goalkeeper as well. You know, we had at least 5 chances to bury these guys in the first half, and we did not take it. I remember I was saying on the live stream about game states. It always counts. Something will just happen. You just be like, where did this come from? All of a sudden, the second half started. Even though Gabon only had 2 shots, they were still the better team for like the first 20 minutes of the second half because we did not take our chances and we're not clinical when we had the opportunity. So we must do that. We must do that on Sunday. We had 17 shots in total. 17. But this time we need to make it count early on because you see how it affects game states. If we score first, especially a team like Congo who thrive on 1-0 wins, if we score first, they will now panic. They will now come out to try and get an equalizer. And you know how dangerous Nigeria can be in transitions with the speed we have. Look at the goals we scored yesterday from Ndidi going on the transition and laying the ball off to Ejuke, or even my favorite centre back now, Benjamin Frederick, when he won that ball off Obama and drove forward and laid the ball to Osimhen. You can see the opportunities gotten in transition, you know, and also being alert to take advantage of mistakes like Ako Adams was when he was able to round off that goalkeeper. So we just need to be clinical and do what we have to do. Now, what do we need to do to win this match? We also have to find a way to disrupt their defense. You know, they may have a low block at certain points, but I think we have the quality to break them down. They're not going to face a striker like Osimhen in this whole World Cup qualifiers. That's the honest truth. He's the best striker in Africa. In fact, he's top 3 in the world, in my opinion. You know, so let's see what happens. But I really believe we need to score the first goal. Better decision making in front of goal, as I said, with Osimhen needing to be clinical, and we need to score early. If he can score in the first half or in the first 30 minutes, I really think that will be that, to be honest. We also have to dominate the midfield battle. Is why, for my prediction of the starting lineup, I wouldn't mind if Eric Schell goes back to a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, because that midfield battle is going to be key. You know, if you watch the way Baleba and some of those guys were even being brushed off the ball by the DR Congo midfielders, Sadiki and co., we cannot take the midfield battle for granted. And unfortunately, we know that Wilfred Ndidi is going to be suspended for the game because he got his second yellow card of the qualifiers yesterday, which means he's going to miss the final on Sunday. Also, do not fear. I went to do the research. Victor Osimhen is not suspended. Yesterday was his first yellow card for Nigeria in the qualifiers. I don't know whether people are mistaken it to the friendly game or AFCON qualifiers, but I triple checked. Osimhen is not suspended. Also, Shemi Ajayi will be back for the match on Sunday. And one thing to be careful about, any Nigerian player that has a yellow card booking, if they get a yellow card tomorrow, they will miss the playoff game in March. So someone like Osimhen cannot get a yellow tomorrow. I think there's a couple, Bassi as well. They cannot because they will be suspended for March. I double checked it already. So let's just be guided. We must avoid cheap turnovers. That's very, very important. And apart from what I even said about the midfield battle, let Onyedika come in, let Onyeka come in as well. I think we'll play Onyeka and Iwobi as well. Let Iwobi come and be helping with the midfield. And then let Osimhen do his thing up there. Now, one thing we must also do in this match is our wingers must track back well. I know some people were praising Ejuke for scoring the goal, which of course we praised him well for. But one of the big mistakes that Ejuke made compared to Lookman and Chukwueze is that Ejuke was not tracking Lemina when he took that shot. Watch the first half. Look at how Lookman and Chukwueze were doing their defensive duties well. And all of a sudden, in the second half, when Ejuke, some lapses in concentration, because he should have been there covering Lemina, but he was not there. He was way up the pitch. You know, so we must defend as a team as well. Very, very important. Also, as I've already said, we must defend our set pieces well and ultimately let our quality shine. Look, like I've said 2 or 3 times already, if Congo play their best, Nigeria play their best, Nigeria will beat Congo. That's not even being disrespectful. That's just the facts. Nigeria, our team on paper, also when we deal with these high pressure situations, look at how everybody thought we were down and dead. Now look at what we've given 4 goals in our last 2 games now. And these are teams that are not as good as Congo. But also Nigeria are used to dealing with this pressure. Look at the last AFCON where we whitewashed Angola, whitewashed Cameroon. You know, like even Ivory Coast, we beat them in group stage in their own house. Obviously, the final was a bridge too far, but this is a country that we like the pressure. We don't mind it. And Victor Osimhen, I loved watching his interviews yesterday. These boys are ready, man. How Osimhen no go World Cup? You know good now. You know good. So really looking forward to the game. Now, what do we think will be the expected lineup? It's hard to predict with Eric Schell, but I would say 2 formations that I think he could do. Now, if he continues with the 4-4-2 like he's done in the previous games, we know that Nabali will start. I expect Bassi and Frederick continue as centre-back pairing. Sanusi will continue as left-back. Now, there's a world where he may continue to Sai Samuel. Left to me, I would either start Awaziem as right-back and keep Bassi and Frederick in centre-back. Or bring Shemi Ajayi to play in centre-back because Shemi Ajayi is very good in the air, very good aerially. I remember Congo have the threats from set pieces. So there's a world where I would, even though, you even know me, Ajayi is not my favorite player, but he's fantastic in the air. Let Ajayi and Bassi play as centre-back pairing. Let Frederick play as right-back. Because we already know that whether he plays right-back or centre-back is going to deliver. And then you go with your Iwobi and either probably Onyeka midfield, because you know that in the books of Eric Schell, he prefers Onyeka. And then start with your Lookman and Chukwueze still. Or maybe you go with Simon rather than Lookman, depending on how the manager is feeling, But I think the team he started with yesterday in the first half was excellent. So there's a world where he may not change that. If we scored 2 of the chances we had, all of a sudden we'll be saying, wow, what a fantastic formation. And Akwa Adams was also excellent. I thought he was phenomenal in the match. And he's the one that broke the dog for us score our first goal. So Akwa Adams and Osimhen are fantastic players to start up top. So that may be what he goes with in a 4-4-2. Now, based on the opponents we are playing and the need to dominate the midfield battle, I would prefer if we go with a 4-4-3, 4-3-3. Sorry. So Nwabali still in goal. you play your Bassi and then bring Shemi Ajayi's partner Bassi, let Frederick play right back because Osayi was really shaky. And we also know that some of the unfortunate moments in this match, the VAR decision was him. The deflected goal was him. Yes, you can say it would be a bit harsh to blame him for some, but maybe just take him out of the firing line. You can see the lack of match sharpness to an extent in him. And then play Frederick there. Let Sanusi continue as left back. Then play a midfield three of Franco Yeka, Rafael Yedika, and Alex Iwobi. So Iwobi can also play as a cam closer to Osimhen like he did towards the end of the match yesterday. But he can also come in and help the midfielders where we need the bodies in that midfield. Then, obviously, Victor Osimhen will start. But I still believe Lookman and Chukwueze should start this game. I don't want to hear what people are saying about Lookman. Yes, he made some mistakes. But remember, they took them off in the second half after 60 minutes. After they put toiled for 15 minutes already, you know. So I think we just have to give them benefits of the doubt. Lookman still wants to do well for the country. And of course, it will be good to see if Oyedika can play and how he will fit into the plans, considering he has not played a match for Nigeria under Eric Shell in a long time. Maybe one of the friendly games, sure. But you can tell at the moment Eric Shell doesn't really like playing him. So that's what I think will be the lineup. And just to round up the podcast for my predictions, I'll be honest, I'm confident. I'm very confident. Like, my heart says it will be a 2-0 win to Nigeria. You know, the Congolese are not the biggest scorers. The most they will score in this match is 1. But I really think with our defensive work and the kind of attacking prowess we showed yesterday, we really should be beating DR Congo. No disrespect to them. So my heart is going for a 2-0 win. I still think Victor Osimhen is the key to all of this, and he will score goals in 90 minutes this time. But my head thinks it will be a 1-0 win for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. You know, we'll score in the first half, 1-0 Victor Osimhen, and then the Congolese will try to see what they can hit us with, and then we will either just control the tempo and get some more chances, and it will end 1-0. Actually, scratch that. My head and heart says 2-0. Yes. We'll score in the first half, then Congo will try and equalize. And by opening up space, with the quality we have in transition and just in our attack in general, we should be able to seal the result to the second goal. So really looking forward to the game. Obviously, it's going to be a tense one. Remember to join me for the live watch along, which will be taking place from 7 p.m. UK time on Sunday. I'll open the watch along from 6:45 UK time, so 7:45 Nigeria time. I'm really excited. Once again, I want to say a big thank you to everybody who joined the live stream yesterday. We have never seen that kind of numbers before in what we're doing. You know, over 30,000 views. Fantastic. We do not despise days of humble beginnings, and we're going to keep serving and serving this content. I know I said I'll make it concise, and now it's 30 minutes long again. But I hope you enjoyed the content and you found it very informational, and you're excited. And most of all, the body and the ginger don't enter for Super Eagles. It's going to be a big weekend. So looking forward to seeing you on the other side. And also make sure you watch the Hot Takes episode to see how I react to some of your comments. And see you on the next episode of the Nigeria Football Weekly podcast. Ciao.
Thanks for watching this video. Please like, share, subscribe, and click the bell to get a notification whenever we drop a video. You can also find our social media channels listed below. And of course, up Super Eagles and Nigeria no dey ever carry last.